Welcome to the Next Level Human podcast. As a human, you have a job to do. In fact, you have 4 jobs: to earn and manage money, to attain and maintain health and fitness, to build and sustain personal relationships, to find meaning and make a difference. None of these jobs are taught in school, and that is what this podcast is designed to do: to educate us all on living our most fulfilled lives through the mastery of these 4 jobs. I'm your host, Dr. Jade, Teta, and I believe we are here living this life for 3 reasons and 3 reasons only: to learn, to teach, and to love. In this podcast, I will be learning, teaching, and loving right along with you. I'm grateful to have your company. Here's to our next level. All right, everybody, welcome to today's podcast. I'm excited to do this one because we're going to wrap up the 6 powers today. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast or you've missed the last several episodes, I have been giving a review of the Next Level Human concepts and specifically the Next Level Human journey, which constitutes what I call the 6 powers. These are the 6 tools of mastery that each of us must develop wisdom over and mastery over so that we can become the humans that we desire to become. Now, this is the critical job that each of us humans have to do. I say this often, but there has never been another human like you in the history of humanity. Same thing goes for me. Same thing goes for every human you've come in contact with. Not only that, there will never be another human like you in the history of humanity. Same thing goes for me. Same thing goes for everyone else. And so, in a sense, each human who's ever lived or will ever live is a unique spiritual fingerprint, a unique purpose potential that has the ability to show up in the world and do something uniquely positive for the world. This is the hypothesis and philosophy of the Next Level Human. The whole point of each of us reaching our next level human selves is so that we can bring our special cargo, deliver our special cargo to the world. And so to start out this podcast, which is going to end the 6 powers with the last one, I want to just review this a little bit. This idea that you are unique, that you are special, that you have something unique and special to deliver to the world. And let me rephrase that a little bit, because I do think, at least in the United States and Western culture, this idea of I am special, it permeates all of us. It's all throughout our culture. And the truth is, it's not so much that we are special. We're really not. We're no different than any other human. We're no better or worse than any other human. That's why I call it next level human and not better level human or higher level human. So in that sense, we are not special. We are no different than anyone else. And I do think it's dangerous in a sense to walk through the world thinking you are better than and more special than anyone else. However, when I say and use the term we are special, what I'm really referring to is this idea that we can choose to deliver something special. We can be special in our actions and our choices and the way we choose to show up for not just ourselves, but our fellow humans and the world at large. In a sense, when you think about it, this is really what makes humans different from every other animal. Philosophy has been debating this throughout the history of humanity. All the great philosophers have taken on this question to essentially say, what makes us different? And they've come up with different answers. And some of those have been, well, we are rational. We can think and we can reason. And that it makes us different than any other animal. However, if you take a mouse or a crow or a chimpanzee and put them in a laboratory setting, which has been done over and over again, and you make them try to figure out an elaborate contraption that makes them go through mazes and sets up all these different ways for them to try to procure food, animals can reason their way through that. And so watching any animal in a laboratory setting or even in nature tracking down food and doing the things they do to survive will immediately have you questioning the idea that humans are the only rational, reasonable, or rational creatures that can reason and think. Animals can do this too. Now, other people have said, well, it's because humans are conscious. We are aware that we are aware. We are aware of ourselves. We are aware that we are a unique entity. But when you think about that, think about your dog or your cat or your pet. Aren't animals somehow aware that they exist and are somehow separate from everything else? Obviously, in order to survive and to maneuver throughout the world, they would need to have some sense of their unique identity, especially when we're talking about mammals, right? Certainly, there is some kind of reason there, and there is some kind of conscious awareness that these animals understand that they are in the world. Otherwise, they wouldn't fight for survival. They wouldn't feel the need to take care of their young. They wouldn't feel the need or to do the things they need to do to procure food. Now, some people would say, well, it's not just rationality and it's not consciousness. It's this idea that we get to choose, that it's sort of free will. But again, animals are able to choose as well. They're able to determine whether they're going to pounce on, the weaker, smaller, younger, more sickly antelope if they're a lion, let's say. So they are certainly reasoning and using rationality and exercising free will. Certainly they have instinct, but they also have the ability to choose, just like we do with free will. And so, obviously, there's this sort of thing where you can find examples where we humans are definitely not the only ones with these skill sets. So my take on this is that we humans are really unique in that we have all of those things. We are conscious. We are rational and can reason. We have the ability to free will, and we can choose. But more than that, what I think sets us apart as humans is our ability to time travel. And I don't mean time travel in the sense of literally traveling physically backward or forward in time. I mean mentally. We have the ability to project backwards into our past and take lessons from that past and project forward into the future and decide that what we want to do to make the world different. Think about it, right? Humans can imagine something into existence that has never been in existence before. Not only can they do that, they seem to be called to do it. And when they're doing it, they seem to want to include not just other humans, but other animals and the planet at large. This, I think, is what makes us different. In other words, we are conscious, integrative creators, in a sense. We are creators, and we do it not just for ourselves, but for other humans and the world at large. This is something that is very, very different than any other living creature on the planet. Think about a bear taking care of their cubs. Certainly they can reason and be rational for food. They can be conscious of their own identity and that of their child and use free will and choice to sort of maneuver through the world. But they're not going to think about, maybe what's going on with the other bears on the mountain. And they're certainly not going to think about what about humans and take humans into account. And they're certainly not going to be thinking about, well, I also need to take care of the world as well. And even if they could do all of those things, they wouldn't have the tool set to make it happen. So we humans can do all of those things. We seem to want to do those things and be driven to do those things. And we also have the tool sets to actually do it. A single human aware of their purpose can change the world for themselves and everyone else in it from the present moment into the future and be aware that they have done so. That is what is incredibly different about humans, about you and me, compared to every other living creature on the planet. In that sense, we are godlike in our creative potential. We can bring new possibilities into existence. We can will them, we can imagine them, and then will them into existence. This is different. Now, when you think about that, and you think about the next level human idea of this, this is essentially what I believe we're doing here. This is what I mean by delivering your special cargo. When you think about us as humans, we are each unique. Our unique spiritual fingerprint is made up of our people, meaning the people who have helped us and hurt us in our lives, made up of our passions, the things that we have been interested in, and the things that we will be interested in. They are made up of our superpowers, our talents, the things that we are so good at. Our personalities are unique and give us unique perspectives on the world. And most importantly, our pain. Our pain is what drives us to look at ourselves, see ourselves in relation to the rest of the world, understand suffering, and get the lessons that allow us to not just heal ourselves, but heal others and the world. And to me, this understanding and taking on this job as a human is really what makes a next level human a next level human. It's the acknowledgement, the humble recognition that I have something unique to deliver, that I am a person who can, through my unique people, my unique personality, my unique passions, my unique superpowers, and my unique pain, have this ability to do something in the world that is of positive value for everyone else that no one else can do. And I believe this, and a next level human philosophy believes this about every single human on the planet. Think about it for a second. Every human, any human you run into, even someone who lives on the street and is not seen as productive in the eyes of anyone else in society, could teach you how to survive on the street. They would have a unique skill set. Not only that, they would have a unique life story that when they shared it with you would bring you unique life insights that then you could integrate into your story to then enhance yourself and enhance others. In other words, humans simply sharing their stories and teaching from those stories are able to bring something unique and enhance other people. Now, the idea here is not everybody has this will to purpose that next level humans have. Next level humans are driven by purpose. Purpose being that humble recognition that I am unique, I have a unique skill set, a unique story that I can share and deliver to the world that enhances others. And being willing and wanting to do that. That is the drive and the will to purpose. Any human who has this drive or this will to purpose is a next level human when they are actively engaged in their purpose. Now, the problem with us humans, all of us, fall prey to the lesser substitutes for purpose. Power is a lesser substitute to purpose. Popularity is a lesser substitute to purpose. Pleasure is a lesser substitute for purpose. So in a sense, the way I look at this is there are really four drives, four wills that we humans have. The will to power, the will to popularity, the will to pleasure, and the will to purpose. And only one of these drives is worthy of the next level human purpose. The person who shows up to better the world, not for reciprocation or acknowledgement or reward, but simply because they can. I want to jump in real quick and tell you about one of my favorite new products. And to start out, I want to ask you a question. If you had to follow your friends around who are not the healthiest in the world and see what they are doing, what would be the number one thing you would probably tell them to do to start? For most people, that's going to be drinking more water, right? This is something that we talk about all the time in health and fitness. It's almost as if we think of it as an afterthought now because obviously water is so crucial. However, we oftentimes get this wrong. For example, did you know that when it comes to hydration, just drinking water can make things worse? Most people don't know this. Why? Partly because most people are over drinking water and under consuming the electrolytes that help water do its job. What we don't realize is that hydration is not just about water. It's about electrolytes, the minerals in there, as well as getting that water into the cells. And so you do not want to be over consuming water if you're not getting your electrolytes right. And this opens up a whole new discussion because most people are not getting their electrolytes right. For example, did you know that too low sodium is an issue? Just as much, if not more so, than high sodium. In other words, what we want if we're going to get the right electrolytes is to get the right amount of sodium and potassium and magnesium in the Goldilocks zone. We don't want too much. We don't want too little. We want it just right. This opens up a whole other thing here too, because people who are exercising, doing sauna therapies, doing low-carb diets are disrupting and losing lots and lots of their electrolytes. For example, when insulin is not around in low-carb diets, you will excrete lots of sodium. In other words, under that state, exercising, low-carb diets, all these things, you actually need more sodium. And so if you're somebody who has been just drinking water, not paying attention to electrolytes, and also feeling fatigued, feeling like you're underperforming, not sleeping right, getting cramps, twitches, headaches, any of these things, then you are probably dealing with an electrolyte issue. This is where the product Element comes in. This product has been a game changer for me and many of my patients and clients. This is a rehydration electrolyte beverage, basically. It is a powder of electrolytes formulated with 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams magnesium without the added sugar and other nonsense that comes in beverages like Gatorade. This stuff is basically a rehydration beverage on steroids. It is the thing that is going to replenish your electrolytes in the right ratios, decrease fatigue, really correct chronic dehydration. And by the way, many people are dehydrating themselves, becoming hyponatremic, low sodium, when they're consuming too much water. You need your electrolytes on board, especially if you are someone who is losing lots of sodium and other electrolytes through low-carb diets and lots of exercise. This is where Element comes in. Element is a new sponsor to the Next Level Human podcast. I cannot recommend this product enough. I have been using this stuff for months now, and I have immediately seen changes in my energy levels. I feel like I'm operating on a whole other level, and I have seen this as being the primary thing that people who have been using Element have been telling me, that their fatigue is getting better, especially fatigue that comes after very intense workouts that involve lots of sweating and lots of intense output from the nervous system. Please check out Element. Use the code NEXTLEVEL. DrinkElement.com. That's DrinkLMNT.com. DrinkElement.com, and let's get back to the show. This is the idea. Now, base level humans have the will to power. Now, they're very similar than anyone else, but when we're operating from our base level, we're getting confused. Everyone wants to feel like they matter and want to make a difference. Some people do that by chasing power. And they do that because they've never been able to get over their fear. Fear makes us want to seek power and control and safety. And so base level humans get confused. They choose the will to power over the will to purpose so that they can allay their fear. But think about what happens when you chase power. Imagine that you chased power and you were all powerful, and one day you took over the whole world and were the most powerful human in the whole world, and everyone was subjugated by you, right? And was beneath you, and you controlled every aspect of them. In a sense, that kind of absolute power leads to self-destruction. And the reason it leads to self-destruction is because sooner or later there is nothing else to gain power over. And you end up destroying yourself in the process because you destroy everyone else. Now, by the same token, if you have a will to popularity or a will to pleasure, and let's talk about popularity first, culture level humans have a will to popularity. Now, just like the will to power, chasing popularity will also destroy self. And the reason it does is because you give up your uniqueness in order to fit in with others. And so when you're chasing the will to power, you destroy yourself by destroying everyone else and controlling everyone else. When you chase the will to popularity, it's the opposite of that. You destroy yourself by giving yourself over to others and letting them take your power. The will to pleasure really distracts you and keeps you from realizing the work that you are here to do on this planet. And so in a sense, the will to pleasure also destroys you in a sense. And so if you're listening closely, what you're probably realizing is that I am essentially saying you as an individual are synonymous with your purpose. Your higher level self, your next level self, your best level self is really that which is in alignment with your purpose. As soon as you let power, popularity, or pleasure dominate, you lose purpose and therefore lose and destroy yourself. So in this last phase of the next level human journey and the 6 powers, it's really coming full circle, realizing that through this journey that I have taken to become my next level self, I end up at the end of this journey with a unique skill set, a unique story, special cargo that I alone can deliver to the world to make it better. And this is the principle of sharing. And so we've talked about the 6 powers. They go by the acronym POWERS, POWERS. The first principle is the principle of perception. The second principle, the O, is for ownership. The W is for wisdom. The E is for engagement. The R is for resolve. And the last one that we're going to talk about today is S for sharing. Ultimately, what we humans are here for, I believe, is to share our special cargo with the world, to share our purpose, to deliver this thing that only we can deliver to the world. And what we get confused with is we oftentimes think this has to be a big thing. Like I've got to be an amazing musician or an amazing actress, or I've got to be a top level CEO, or I've got to make a bunch of money and collect a bunch of things. These are all either the will to power or the will to popularity. So can you see how that gets confused? But when we are just about sharing and generosity and giving our purpose to the world, that is showing up in just the way we can. For some people, it's simply about making people smile and delivering kindness, and that is their purpose. For others, it's about cleaning up the street and their community and picking trash out of the streams and the roads. That is the purpose. For others, it's about doing and writing books and doing creative pursuits and sharing their art. For others, it's about helping people, with repair their cars or to build devices or whatever it is. The trick here is when we're talking about purpose, it's something that you choose and create to create an experience for others that benefits them. And in the process of that, what's beautiful about purpose that's different than power and popularity and pleasure is that when you are in alignment with purpose, you serve yourself while simultaneously serving others and the world. This is what's different about a next level human. Base level humans are all about themselves. It's me against the world. Everyone else be damned, right? A culture level person is all about their team. My team is better than your team. A next level human is about both. They're about themselves and others. They make their choices based on what's best for them and what's best for the rest of humanity, and not just humanity, but the rest of the world, the rest of creation, the animals, the forest, all of it. They see themselves as an integrated whole. And so as next level humans, aspiring next level humans, because we all, of course, have base level tendencies, culture level tendencies, and next level tendencies. The whole idea of the next level human mindset and journey is that we can spend most of our time in next level human pursuits and grow out of the more immature, less fulfilling base level and culture level pursuits. And we do that through following the 6 powers. We first have to change the way we see the world, move out of victim mindset, stop seeing the world as something that happens to us, but also see that we get to happen back to the world. Start seeing that the way we filter what we encounter in the world determines how we show up in the world and how the world shows up for us. I oftentimes say, if you see life as a war, you will find battles everywhere, whether they exist or not. And most people are living their lives in this way. They are domesticated in a sense. They have not moved past the stories of their childhood or their formative years, their teenage years, and their young 20s. Most people, as a result of this, die as adolescents and never fully grow into their mature next level selves. When you think about it from this point of view, base level humans are like children. Now, this oftentimes aggravates people when they hear this because, of course, children are incredible and they're, innocent, and they have this view on the world that they're just a free canvas. However, children are not yet aware that the world does not revolve around them. And eventually they understand that, yes, it's about having fun and getting your needs met, but you're not the only person in the world. And so children soon learn that they have to take into account the needs of other humans as well as their own needs. Base level humans never learn that. For base level humans, it's all about me. They are the narcissists, the Machiavellian types, the psychopaths, the ones who basically think that that's my dog barking. Stop that, Stoey. Stoey is a little Pomeranian husky who's now decided that she's going to, defend the whole universe. But ultimately, what we want to understand with the next level human mindset here is that if you are operating from base level and it's all about you, you can never deliver your purpose. So base level humans mistakenly believe that if they chase power and they just take care of themselves, they're going to feel fulfillment. It's impossible. Culture level humans believe and they act more like adolescents. Remember, once you get past the childhood stage, you go into the adolescent stage. And what happens at the adolescent stage is all about team now, isn't it? It's all about, I have to do everything for my team. I have to conform. I got to fit in. Nothing's more important than fitting in and belonging. And so base level humans are all about me. Culture level humans are all about them, them, them. Let me be like them so I could fit in. Next level humans are about both. They are about both. They are both about me and other. And this brings us to this idea then of ownership, because once you get past perception and you start seeing and understanding the world correctly and have the right filters on and start seeing life as not happening to you, but life as teaching you, and stop seeing stress as stress, but instead stress as a learning opportunity, and stop seeing emotions as bad, but rather emotions as information, and stop seeing obstacles as obstacles, but rather obstacles as stepping stones. Once you get to that point, you move past perception and you start getting into ownership. You start realizing that, oh, I get to choose how I see the world, and I get to choose who I will become, and I get to choose how I will show up. And not only do I get to choose that, but I will take that on. And you create an honor code of a sort. And this is the ownership principle. Radical responsibility. You probably heard that term, or extreme ownership. This idea that I will be this human. This is what I'm going to make my life's work about. Now, before you can get there, you got to get past the perception phase and think correctly and see the truth of who you have been being and the truth of who you can become. And what I mean by that is, like, look, all of us have different talents. You might want to be a great singer, but you might not have the voice to do it. You might want to be a great athlete, but you might not have the genetics to do it. And so part of this is all about realizing that it's not just what we desire, but it's also realizing what we are truly built for. And so perception is walking that fine line. Now, of course, once we get past perception, we'll see there are lots of things that we can do. I have learned through mastering perception that I'm a great communicator, that I'm a really good healer. I'm also a really good teacher. Now, I could have become and did become for a time a physician and was mainly involved in healing. But quickly, I decided and chose and owned the idea of becoming a teacher. And that brought me to being an author. That brought me to doing a podcast. That brought me to build all of the things that I have built for all of you, all my fitness programs and health programs, and educating doctors and personal trainers and nutritionists in metabolism, and educating people and writing books in self-development. I chose teacher. This was the ownership part. Now, when I chose teacher and I chose author, right? And I chose to be someone who writes books and teaches. Once I mastered that ownership, it opened up a gap. I didn't know how to publish a book. I wasn't as much of a great writer as I was a great communicator with voice. So I needed to learn and master writing. If you want to be a great communicator and a great teacher, you have to be able to talk in front of crowds. You need to be able to talk in front of cameras. You need to be able to write, right? You need to be able to master communication in many different forms. And so it took me a degree of time to close the gap in what I wanted to do and what I knew. And this is the idea of wisdom. So we go perception, ownership, wisdom. And in the accumulation of wisdom, many people think that as you're trying to master something and going through your next level human journey, we kind of believe that knowledge is all that's required. But it's not. The most important knowledge is the experience we gain from taking action. And that is what engagement is all about. In order to really learn the lessons that we need to learn and get the pain that is going to give us the best lessons that we can pass on to the people we teach, to share our stories, we need to engage with the world. We need to say yes. We need to, take on and not rise to the occasion, but rise to the level of our training. We need to be in a position where we show up and attack the world and be willing to be vulnerable and stand on the ledge and do the things necessary to learn and master. Jumping in real quick to tell you about one of our newest sponsors, and I am super excited about this sponsor because it is a tool that I have been using ever since I found out about the company. So let me set it up this way for you guys. What if you could peer into your metabolism and see exactly how certain foods are impacting your health and fitness? What if you could essentially look into your bloodstream and say, that particular food did this to my blood sugar, and this particular food did that to my blood sugar? Would that not be cool? Well, this is exactly what Levels Health does. Levels is essentially a continuous glucose monitor that monitors your blood sugar levels throughout the day. Every 5 minutes or so, it is taking a reading of your blood sugar levels and telling you how stress is affecting blood sugar, how your sleep is impacting blood sugar, how the different foods you are eating are impacting your blood sugars. You get to see in real time how all of these things are impacting one of the key indicators of health in your body, blood glucose concentrations. This is why Levels Health is so powerful. Continuous glucose monitoring is perhaps one of the best tools that we have been given ever in the health and fitness world. And here is why. Each one of us are different. We talk about that all the time on the Next Level Human podcast. I always am mentioning to you to stop following one size fits all diets and instead start listening to the signs and symptoms that your body is giving you, the biofeedback that your body is sending you. However, that is somewhat subjective, isn't it? So how do we know, for example, if something that we think is healthy may not be that healthy for us? Well, now we have an objective tool, a continuous glucose monitor that will tell you exactly how certain foods are impacting you. And there's lots of research on this. I'll give you one example about this. Sourdough bread, for example. It is very popular for people to say, well, sourdough bread is different than regular bread and has less of a blood sugar response than other breads. And that's based on some research that compared sourdough bread in terms of its glycemic index to regular bread. Except as soon as you put a continuous glucose monitor on different individuals and give them regular bread or sourdough bread, you will see that in some people, sourdough bread actually raises blood sugar to the same degree or even more than regular bread. And this is across the board with many different types of food. Now, wouldn't it be incredible if you had this tool and you could wear a continuous glucose monitor every day and be able to get your blood sugar levels every single day? You know, when I used to do this in the clinic, I would have to do blood sugar. I would have to stick people's finger or have them do it themselves. And what I would do is I would take a blood sugar measurement before the meal, then 30, 60, and 90 minutes after the meal. And I would try to infer from that data what was going on inside their body. Now I can get all of that data all at once from a device that you wear for 14 days straight and then switch it out. I've been wearing the continuous glucose monitor essentially since it has come out. And Levels has the best app in the business, in my estimation, in my opinion, in terms of how they measure and how the app delivers the data to you. You can actually enter in exactly what you ate at the time you ate it and see the corresponding blood sugar curves that are going on with this Levels device. I could not be more excited for the CGM technology, the continuous glucose monitor technology, and I could not be more of a fan of Levels Health in terms of what they have done to bring this technology to the masses. I love that they've decided to jump on board with Next Level Human and become a sponsor. And I hope that you will take advantage of this company to really master your metabolic health by getting on board with a continuous glucose monitor. Check them out, levelshealth.com. That's levelshealth.com. Check them out. They are one of our newest sponsors. I'm super excited about them. And now let's go ahead and get back to the show. So wisdom gives us the knowledge, but it doesn't give us the experience. Remember, wisdom is knowledge plus experience, right? Knowledge plus experience. So in a sense, to have full wisdom, you must have engagement with it. And this is why after wisdom becomes engagement. In fact, you can't truly develop the skill set necessary to deliver your special cargo without wisdom and engagement. But what happens is as we move through this, we fail. We mess up. We get our ass beat, so to speak. In other words, we get our heart broken. We have pain. We lose loved ones. We fail again and again. The first time you go to get your book published, it doesn't get published. The first time you're out there trying to teach on social media, no one pays attention to you. And so you have to show up again and again and again. You have to get up again and again and again. You can't quit. You have to just do the work. You have to realize that you don't arrive until arrival is no longer the goal. And that is the principle of resolve. So now we have perception, the P, ownership, the O, W, the wisdom, the W, and then engagement and resolve, and finally, sharing. This is the part where we have mastered our craft. We are in touch with who we are. We know the special cargo that we are here to deliver. And by the way, let me say something here about this special cargo, this unique thing that you can bring to the world. It's not so much something you find as it is something you create. As you're going through the next level human journey, mastering the way you see the world, developing this ownership, deciding what you want to be, through the engagement and resolve process, things get refined. As I told you, I am healer, I am teacher, I am communicator. There are lots of things that I could have done. Not infinite things, though, a handful of things. There are 5, 6 different things I could choose to be because I have developed a skill set in those areas. And I have chosen teacher. Now, once you choose this and go out and do it and start giving freely without need for reciprocation, acknowledgement, or reward. And let me say that again. The key here to a next level human is doing the thing because you can, not doing the thing because of what you will get. It's showing up and doing this thing not for acknowledgement, reciprocation, or reward. This is important to understand because most people tend to think that when they go through this journey as self-development, they think they have to end up somewhere, right? It has to be their career. They've got to make money at this. And that is absolutely wrong. That happens to be the case for me, right? But for the vast majority of people, their purpose, this special cargo, their job, the work they do simply finances the ability for them to deliver that special cargo. For example, I have an amazing friend. She lives in Austin, Texas, who goes around and cleans up the community, gets groups of people together to go and pick up the trash around Austin. And this is her purpose, one of her purposes. She does not get paid for this. She's a dancer. So actually she gets paid to teach dance. Now that is also part of her purpose, right? But she does other things as well that are not part of her purpose that finance the ability to do dance and to teach dance and to pick up trash and clean the environment for others. Now, by the way, why would dancing be purpose-oriented and picking up trash be purpose-oriented versus, doing something like, just being a Wall Street trader and making money for yourself and your family? Because dance is something that everyone can benefit from. When you dance and you create something, you get to share it with the world. When you pick up trash, people get to enjoy those clean spaces. And so there are things that simply make money. The Wall Street trader absolutely could be deep in purpose, but he or she is not, the Wall Street trading is not the purpose, unless they're teaching that to other people. The purpose is financed by being a day trader or the Wall Street investor. See what I mean? And this is where people get confused. They don't understand exactly what purpose means. My father is a great example of this, and I'll use him as an example because it illustrates several things about purpose and the principle of sharing purpose. The idea is that purpose is not something that you get from the world, it's something you give to the world. So many people confuse meaning and purpose. Meaning is hugely important. We humans can't live without meaning. However, meaning, in my way of seeing it, is something you get from the world. So my father got a lot of meaning from his children and his family. But raising a family and building a family and raising kids can't be purpose. It can be meaning. But purpose is something you share with the greater world. Now, I oftentimes say my father's purpose was father, which can seem confusing to you and to a lot of people who first hear this. But how could you make being a father purpose? It's because he was a father not just to me and my siblings. He was a father to the people he coached. He coached football throughout me growing up. He was a father to many people who had dysfunctional families, who lived with me growing up, who were not his biological children, that he took in and helped them. He has even been father to adults. One of my very close friends, when they were in their early 30s, went bankrupt and was basically homeless, and my dad took them in, helped them get back on their feet, helped teach them how to manage money and do all these kinds of things, helped them get a house, learn how to get a house and maneuver all that. In other words, he was father to a 30-year-old who was a grown man. And so purpose is something you deliver to the world. And by the way, he didn't get paid for any of that. He didn't do it for acknowledgement and reciprocation or reward. He did it because he could. And so father, the idea of father can both be something that is meaningful, but if it becomes something that you start giving to the greater community, it becomes purpose. It becomes the principle of sharing. I'll give you another example of this. Let's take cooking and food. Maybe you love food, right? And this is a whole other example where sometimes people get confused with passion versus meaning versus purpose. And I kind of see these on a continuum where they are passion leads to meaning and can lead to purpose, which is the greatest expression of these. So imagine you're passionate about, let's say you're passionate about tequila. You love tequila. You're passionate about it. Now, when you're passionate about something, you just want to go and drink all the tequilas. It's for you, right? You use it for you. You go taste tequilas. You buy tequilas for yourself. You go out and have tequilas for yourself. Now, as that passion for tequila starts to get deeper and deeper, right? Now you can make it meaningful by sharing it with your loved ones and things like that. Now it becomes more meaningful by making it a part of your life, right? Where you have it always be a part of your life. Like, let's say you love this special kind of tequila, but this tequila, let's say, goes out of business and is no longer available. This is why it's meaning, because when you get very excited about something and it's meaningful to you and it's incorporated into your life, but you don't own it and you don't build it and you don't create it, then it's meaning, right? This tequila brand goes away. You no longer get to experience it anymore. So that meaning goes away. However, if you start to now make tequila or teach people about tequila, or use tequila in some way that benefits the rest of the world, to share it with the rest of the world, so to speak. If that's what you do, now you've turned this tequila practice into purpose. So my father was father to me and my siblings, that was meaning, because guess what? I could die. My siblings could die. He could lose us. However, once he started taking on being father to the rest of the world, that's when it turned into purpose. And so purpose is this thing that you give to the world. And what many people miss is that passion can give you some happiness, and meaning can give you some contentment. But those things can immediately go away. This is why your romantic partner can't be your purpose, and your kids can't be your purpose, because they could die or they could leave you. And then that goes away. Your purpose is only and always something that you own, create, and can give to the world, that you can die with. And it delivers not just happiness and contentment, but more importantly, joy and fulfillment. These are the highest emotional states that a human being can achieve. These are the emotional states that can stay with you in the worst of times. Think about it. If you lose a loved one because they die because of cancer or something like that, you can't be simultaneously in grief while also being happy and content. They are state specific. They are situationally specific. However, you can be going through amazing grief, yet have gratitude and joy and fulfillment for what you do in the world and how you show up in the world. So grief can simultaneously exist with fulfillment. However, happiness cannot. This is why meaning is temporary, but purpose is permanent. So when we talk about the idea of sharing with the world, we're really talking about sharing our purpose with the world. And it's something we create, and it's something that we choose, and it's something that we show up with. Now, the final thing I'll say about this principle, and I call this principle Relinquam Amor, which is Latin for leave your love. And it's not a romantic incantation when I say that. It has nothing to do with lovers and romance and romantic relationships. Love is synonymous with creation. And when you leave your creations for other people freely, without expectation of something in return, this is you loving. And when we leave our love, when we leave our creations, this is what we are doing, is we are creating things, making a difference for other people in the world, showing up and teaching, sharing our stories, so that when we die, those lessons live on in others. And it's legacy in a sense, not legacy in the ego way of like, I want trophies and I want to be remembered. This kind of legacy is not needing to be remembered at all, but rather desiring for the things that you have created to make a difference long after you've left the planet. The way I like to think about this is I like to think that when you are born, it's like a piece of a stone or pebble falling off the roof of a cave, and it falls through the air. And as it falls through the air, it is essentially interacting with the atmosphere. And maybe it lands into a pond at the bottom of this cave. And when it hits the water, this is analogous to you having ownership and deciding this is what I'm going to do in the world. And when that stone hits the water, it creates ripples. Now, many people's ripples have never gotten past perception and ownership. So we create ripples in the world whether we want to or not. But if we don't, or we are not conscious of how we are owning and how we are owning ourselves showing up in the world, those ripples can be destructive to other humans and often are. So when your stone hits the water and you sink to the bottom of that lake, long after you've died and your rock settles at the bottom of that lake bed, your ripples are still making a difference on top of the lake. They are still making a difference for other people. They can lift other people up. Those lessons, the way you showed up and were kind, giving, generous, the pursuit of your purpose can make a difference for eternity, right? For eternity. So do you want your ripples to be these amazing waves that pick people up and bring them to shore and teach them about their power? Or do you want them to be destructive waves that crash over other people's boats and sink them? How many people do we know who live their life this way, only for themselves, chasing power and or popularity, destroying themselves and others in the process because they've never taken on the job of delivering their special cargo, of sharing this special cargo with the world, of taking on their unique job of purpose, of owning what they are here to do on the planet. This is the idea and the final step in the next level human journey. And when you take that step and master this art of sharing, again, without the need for acknowledgement, reciprocation, or reward, you have arrived. You have completed your hero's journey. You have made the full circle in the next level human journey. And you have made a difference for others and for yourself. And when you are on your deathbed, you will be able to be proud of the life you lived. And it's my contention, my belief, that in the end, that is really what living is all about for all of us. We want to matter and make a difference. We want to be on our deathbed and be able to look back on how we lived our lives and be in deep gratitude for ourselves and deep love for ourselves. and look at ourselves and say, I am proud of the human you were and the difference that you made. This, to me, is the principle of sharing and the final step in the next level human process. Thanks so much for hanging out at the podcast today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and this completes the 6 powers and the next level human philosophy. I will see you at the next episode.